Good morning, YouTube. Flight Sim Guy here. I am at Tampa International, KTPA, with PMDG's 747-400. And today I'm going to go ahead and fly this bad boy to Mexico. Been doing some research on the 747. Interesting point, there are no more domestic 747 routes in America. The last 747 route that was flown was about maybe a year and a half ago. I don't recall what airline. I think it may have been United. But right now, as far as America is concerned, these birds, the Queen of the Sky, is limited only to international routes. With that, I figured I'll go ahead and do a quote-unquote international route by flying this thing to Mexico. Now, one of the reasons I don't like long haul, and this is a long haul aircraft, is because I simply don't have the time. So what I'm going to do is there's a feature built into the PMDG actions on the flight management computer where you can implement or turn on their version of time compression, which is simply the simulator's time compression, except it's implemented in PMDG's menu. I had to put myself at the cargo ramp primarily because the regular gates aren't sized for a jumbo aircraft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and power up here, use GSX for the service truck and for loading the passengers, and we'll go ahead and do a taxi and take off. Alright, so we're going to Mexico. According to the flight plan, we're looking at approximately 1,200 miles. I'll go ahead and use the time compression. That should reduce the time of the flight to maybe an hour and a half, as opposed to the 3 or 4 hours that this is. I got the flight plan up on the computer. Fuel required is going to be 84,000 pounds. Flying into Mexico is going to be interesting. Why? Because Mexico is about 8,000 feet up. So that's going to pose some challenges. It's in the mountains. It's surrounded by mountains. And with the thinner atmosphere, I can look forward to, landing is going to be a little bit more difficult, primarily because air is so thin, so bigger aircraft are going to have to come in faster, even though it's a much longer runway. It's like 12,000 feet. And during the flight, I'll go ahead and talk about some stuff that I've learned about the 747 when I was doing my research. Alright, so the first thing we need to do, let's go ahead and get some juice to the aircraft. Go to the overhead panel. And the first thing we want to do is turn on the battery master. And we have the ground power unit outside. But before I turn on the ground power, let's go ahead and turn on the standby power. And now we can connect the GPU cart. And I'll go ahead and begin the alignment process. Alright, before I proceed with the rest of the checklist, let's go ahead and see if we can get GSX to come on up. And let's go ahead and request catering service. And while that is happening, I need to load the aircraft with fuel and payload. So what we need to do is go to FS Actions, Fuel. We got 84,000 pounds. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and make it a even 85,000. 1, 2, 3. And let's go ahead and take care of the payload. We want, per my SimBrief flight plan, 350 passengers. Alright, so how we're going to do that? Let's go ahead and fill up the first class. And let's go ahead and fill up the business. There we go. And as far as our cargo goes, I'm just going to make it an even 10 and 10. Our load level is 62%. What I want is the takeoff center of gravity, 21.4. And I want my zero fuel weight, 486.4. Okay, and that's it for my cargo. Let's take a look at the outside. Okay, my trucks are coming. They're gonna need access to right 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 and 5 on the right side. So we come over here. FS actions. We want doors. Next. Right 1 and 5. So what we're gonna do is we'll let the ground services take care of servicing the plane. After they leave, I'm going to go ahead and request boarding to load up the cargo and get our passengers squared away. I have instant align, so let's go ahead and get this straightened out. Nav data is out of date, that's fine. Enter IRS position. Let's go ahead and do that. I like to use GPS left or right. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and step through the checklist. We had external power is connected. APU will go to when it's time to start the engines. Electric engine controls, those are all set to norm. Our bus ties are all on auto. Generator controls are all on. Hydraulic pump, these should all be off. Engine hydraulic pumps should all be on. We have power to the aircraft, nav light on. Emergency light needs to be armed. Utility left and right are both on. IRS is aligned. Let's come on down. Landing gear is full down. Flaps full up. Spoilers are down. Alright, looks like our GSX trucks are a little bit ahead of schedule. I think it just said 1 right. One and 5. So they are done. Let's go back to the overhead. Fuel cross feeds, they are all open. Fuel pumps are all off. Nacelle and wing anti-ice are all off. Window heat needs to be on. Yaw dampers need to be on. Passenger temperature and flight deck temperature both set to auto. Trim air on. Recirc upper lower are on. Aft cargo heat is on. Gasper is on. I'll go ahead and turn on one of the packs. We start getting bleed air. Engine bleed is on, and our APU bleed is on. All the engine bleeds are on. Alright, it's time to set up the flight management computer, but before I do that, what I need to do, we can go ahead and start loading the aircraft with passengers. So let's go ahead and take care of that. And we're going to need doors 1, 2, and 5 opened, and cargo doors 1 and 2. Alright, so we got those 2 cargo doors open. And this door needs to be open. Let's go ahead and see if we can take care of that. I was going to say they need bigger vehicles to bring the passengers in, but this is just a flight crew. So technically speaking, I should have done this before I started up the airplane. By the way, I learned something very interesting. I guess I'm always the last to know. Chase plane has a playback feature. Right now it's in beta, but it's included in your Chase plane app if you've got the latest version installed. Actually, Chase plane, it does a pretty good job of updating itself. So what I'm going to do is, after I land, I'm going to see if I can use that playback feature and see if it's any good. Reason being, P3D's default playback for some reason doesn't capture your flaps and your spoilers or anything like that. So, alright, our flight attendant is boarding, and we got a couple baggage trucks coming. And while this is happening, I'm going to go ahead and get a weather briefing. Alright, I need to figure out how to get that son of a bitch to not read so fast. Alright, let's go back inside. Let's get a hold of the checklist. Where are we? We are set up the flight management computer. Before I do that, let me go ahead and get the runway assignment for this thing. Okay, runway 1 is what we're using. Let's check outside. Up. Our customers are starting to board. We'll stay out here and get some shots. Alright, so for some reason, GSX always loads the max number of passengers. I selected 350, but it's loading 420, but it's not going to fit my weight in that way. Alright, so we got some time. Alright, let's go back in here. What are we doing? We're setting up the flight management computer. There we go. We're already initialized. Let's do our route. K T P A MMMX. This feature is very, very handy. Saves me a lot of trouble. Okay. Now what I need to do is I need to enter my SIDs and stars. Let's take a look at the plan. According to this, there is no SID, and we're coming in on the day 2 3 Bravo star in Mexico. So let's go back here. Let's do our arrival, day 2 3 Bravo, and our transition. According to this, it says there's no transitions. And as far as the runways, there's 76. According to this, the runway I should be using, let's try ILS 23. I can change it if need be. Alright, let's activate, execute. Let's take a look, see what we got. Set this on plan. Oh, we got a discontinuity. There we go. We're coming to land, and that's our missed approach. Alright, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and do our performance in it. Our cruise altitude is going to be flight level 380. Our zero fuel weight is 486.4. Our reserves. We want a reserves of 20,000. Cost index 25. Alright. Now we need to do our thrust limit, our D rate. To do that, I need to fire up TopCat. I didn't share that with you the last time, but I will this time. Alright, so we got TopCat up and running. What we got to do is, we are in just a regular 747, not the D model. Let's go to weight and balance. From Tampa, KTPA, and we're going to MMMX. Fuel on board is 85,000. Let's go ahead and enter. We got our fuel. We have 350 passengers. Our zero fuel weight here is 542. Zero fuel weight 486. Zero fuel weight 460. So let's go ahead and put 20,000 pounds of cargo. Let's go ahead and put 26,000 pounds of cargo. There we go. Our zero fuel weight here matches what I had before. Our zero fuel weight here matches what's in the aircraft flight management computer. So let's come over to our takeoff. We have our runway. We have the airport. I went ahead and got the weather. Here's our altimeter. Runway is dry. Takeoff weight is 571.5. Let's go ahead and compute. Alright, so our setting is 75 degrees Celsius at 18 degrees. 75 degrees Celsius. And our speeds are 138, 144, and 152. Margin 842 feet. Ouch, that is awfully close. So I have my takeoff information. Let's go ahead and stop recording and switch back over to app recording. Okay, so our temperature is 75. So our temperature is 75, TO minus 2, climb 2. You know, this really doesn't leave that much wiggle room in terms of runway. So you gotta get this right. We're taking off with flaps 10. There we go. Got our flaps. Got our trim. Our trim is equal to 6.0. And our V1 is 138. Actually, 138 to 142. We'll do 138. Our VR is 144. And our V2 is 152. These are the departures. I didn't use one. I'll just go ahead and select the runway. Alright, I think that's it for the flight management computer. Let's go ahead and double check. There we go. Okay. Alright, we're good with the flight management computer. We're still boarding, a little bit over half. Let's go ahead and continue with the checklist. Let's go ahead and set up our guidance panel. Flight director's on. We're going to be taking off from runway 1. We're going to go up to 10,000 feet initially. I'll just go ahead and leave it at that. I'm going to arm flight level change. I'm going to make this 170. I know you're supposed to put this at your V2 speed, but I just like to go ahead and put V2 plus 20 knots. We'll go ahead and arm LNAV. Let's go ahead and set up our barometer, which is 3020. Everything is set to my liking except I'll start the chronometer. You know what? I'll go ahead and start the chronometer right now. If I don't, I'll forget. Let's go ahead and set this on fuel. Okay, we got our 85,000 pounds. Let's go ahead and click engine. We have oil. Let's go ahead and select hydraulics. We have hydraulic fluid, and we have hydraulic pressure seems to be fluctuating, not sure why. Also, I have configured my simulator to simulate use at a regular rate. What that means is after flying this after a while, I gotta, service the aircraft, top off the oil and whatnot, and if I don't take care of the plane properly, things will start failing. Let's take a look outside. It looks like we're just about, nope, we're not done. More passengers are coming on. Alright, let's continue with the checklist. Speed, altitude, LNAV is armed, heading is set. Not yet ready to start the engines. Let's come on down here, get some things in order. Let's test our TCAS.
TCAS test pass.
Passenger signs are on. Should turn that on. Fuel cutoffs are all off. My throttle is closed. Let's go ahead and put our TCAS for now. Leave it on standby. Weather radar, let's go ahead and test the weather radar. Okay. Let's go back to the overhead panel. I'm not yet ready to start the engines, but I will do a double check on some other items. Okay, boarding is complete. Alright, let's go ahead and button up those doors. Alright, it's time to go ahead and start the engines. First thing we've got to do is let's go ahead and get the APU going. Let's go ahead and turn on our beacon light. One thing I don't like about this aircraft, I can't verify the status of the APU power-up. Okay, the APU is now available. Now let's go ahead and disconnect the GPU and remove the chocks. Before we do that, we need to turn on or make auto hydraulic pumps 1, 2, 3 and set this one to on. And you need to do that in order to have access to your parking brake. I did not disclose that in my earlier video. Here's my parking brake. Now I can come over here and go to ground services, ground connections. Let's go ahead and get rid of the GPU, and we can go ahead and remove the chocks. Alright, let's see if we can get a pushback. Okay, you guys didn't see that, but this pushback truck magically came out of this building.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback. Locking gear. Departure check completed. Bypass bin inserted. Release parking brakes. Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will. Tow truck disconnected. Bypass bin removed.
Alright, we can go ahead and get our engine started. Let's go to the overhead panel.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Fuel switches. Let's go ahead and verify what tanks has
Clear to
fuel.
start engines.
Thank you. So we're going to click on fuel. We have gas in the four main tanks. So let's come up here. What we're going to do is turn on that, turn on that, turn on that, turn on that, this, this. We have less than 120K, so we will turn off these cross feeds. Our igniters, continuous ignition, standby norm, auto, both igniters. There isn't an auto start on this one. So I think what I gotta do is fire up the fuel flow at the right time, and I need to make sure to do it at the right time so I don't get a hot start. Packs, one is on, two are off. All the doors are closed. Hydraulic pumps are set as required. Alright, let's go ahead and start. Alright, this is going to be tricky. Let's go ahead and do engine number 4 first. Okay, we got a good light off on engine number 4. There goes engine number 3. Now let's do engine number 2. There goes engine number 2. There goes engine number 1. Alright, we have a good start on all of our engines. Let's go to the overhead and do some post-engine start cleanup. Alright, so another thing that I've learned, the APU generators automatically cut off when the engines are started. I did not know that. Alright, so let's do some post-start cleanup. First thing we got to do, let's go ahead and turn on all the packs. All of our engine bleeds are good. APU can come off. Set this to auto, then this should come off. Turn on our taxi light. Let's come on down. Set our trim to 6. And we want flaps 10. Auto brake set to RTO. Spoiler is armed. Let's see what else needs cleaning up. TCAS, we'll go ahead and set that to transponder. I'll set it to TARA when we're in the air. Passenger signs are on. Doors are auto brakes RTO, speed brake armed, parking brake set, continuous ignition on. Let's go ahead and turn off continuous ignition. Alright, let's go ahead and get our taxi instructions and let's be on our way. Alright, so far so good, not too many mistakes. Alright, so I was watching a documentary on YouTube about the 747. They were talking about specifically the design and development of the 747-8, and they spent a lot of time in the Boeing aircraft factory, the largest building in the world in terms of square footage. That building is so big that on certain days, at the highest point inside the building, clouds actually form. It goes to show how big it is. Anyway, the original 747, when it was designed, Boeing worked with Pan Am, and the 747 was twice as big as any plane before that in terms of capacity and range. And what's interesting is Boeing had no plans of making the 747 a big deal. 747 was originally a stopgap measure or stopgap aircraft because Boeing thought that the future was in the SST, the supersonic transport. So Boeing went ahead and designed their version of what Europe rolled out as a Concorde. Boeing determined that there was no future economically with any sort of supersonic transport aircraft. It was too dirty, it burned too much fuel, and it couldn't carry enough people, and it made too much noise. So Boeing's implementation of the supersonic transport, they halted after they did their first design mock-up, whereas Europe, France, and England went ahead and proceeded with theirs, which resulted in the Concorde. And since the SST didn't work out for Boeing, they figured, you know what? Let's go ahead and see how the 747 business is going to work out. And Boeing bet the farm on the 747. They spent every dime they had. They borrowed loans to the hilt. They borrowed till they couldn't borrow anymore. And if the 747 was a failure, Boeing would have gone bankrupt. Their stock price tumbled. They laid off more than half their workforce. I mean, they literally bet the farm on the 747. It looks like there's a plane coming in. And the reason why my throttles are doing this is because the potentiometers that these things are made from, they get dirty from time to time. So what we're going to do is we're going to taxi. We're going to pause right about here and just stop right here. I'm good right there. There goes a Beech 1900 Delta. Let's see if there's anything else coming. Nope. Let's go ahead and call and get our clearance to leave.
3, 6, right.
There's less than 1,000 feet of clearance based on the takeoff data that I computed. So I need to get this done right. Go ahead and line ourselves up here.
On runway 36, right.
Let's see. Alright, what's our plan? Alright, we're going to take off and then we're going to come 270, get on course. Let's look at our checklist one last time. Auto throttle is armed. We got the speed.
On runway 36, right.
Let's go ahead and
36, right.
turn on weather radar. Let's go ahead and set TARA. Alright, let's do this. Spool the engines up, 50%. Toga.
On runway 36, right. On runway
Now what is it complaining about?
36,
Couldn't fix spoilers. It's doing the same thing again.
knots.
80 knots. V1. Rotate.
Positive rate of climb.
Positive rate. Okay, let's go ahead and make our turn. Okay, autopilot on, flaps up 1, let's go ahead and speed up to 250. Flaps up full. Forgot to turn on my landing lights. Taxi lights off. Okay, let's go ahead and do vertical speed. Take it up to 3,000 feet per minute. We can build up some speed. Okay, and now we can do flight level change. There we go. Alright. After takeoff checklist, let's go ahead and depressurize the landing gear. My spoilers. That's off. Going up to 10,000 feet. Okay. Let's look at our checklist. After takeoff, landing gear off, auto brake off, continuous ignition is off. I'm doing flight level change. Taxi lights, turn them on. And no smoking and fast seatbelt. Let's go ahead and set that to automatic. And we're heading over the Gulf of Mexico on our way up. Just gonna go ahead and dial in flight level 380. And at this point, I don't know if the chase pay and replay really works, so it might crash the sim. I'll go ahead and test it on the landing, but not on here. Alright, so we had a good takeoff. Let's go ahead and turn this up. 270. Anyone who's from Tampa knows that there are 3 major bridges between Tampa and Clearwater, St. Petersburg. We just took off from here, and we are on our way. So the plan now is to go ahead and take this up to cruise, and then I'm going to use the time acceleration feature to enable warp drive and get me across to Mexico a lot sooner. And that's it. Let's go ahead and call it a day. We'll pick this up on the descent and approach and land to Mexico City. My name is Flight Sim Guy. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.